Eagle Nation, the schedule is finally out. 2024-25 is upon us. Today, we will be reacting to all of the matchups, breaking it all down, and most importantly, discussing what the final Eagles record will look like. But as always, welcome into A to Z Sports Philly. You can do us a huge favor by liking this video, share the content around to a fellow Eagles fan, and subscribe to the channel as we continue to keep you updated. Boom, here it is. Last night, this schedule comes out. I don't know why ESPN did a 2-hour special on it, but nonetheless, we know who the Birds are playing and in what order. So Eagle Nation, I need your thoughts right now. Comment down below what you believe the final Eagles record is going to be this season, hoping for a much better campaign for sure. And we will get into it all. I'm not going to bore you and go one by one for a half hour each, but I'll give my general thoughts, my overall thinking on different parts of the schedule. And I'll give you my ultimate prediction on the final record as well. Before we jump into that, though, a quick shout out to our partner of today's show, and that is BetMGM. You can bet on the over-under right now on the amount of wins by downloading the BetMGM app using the code ATOZPA and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. So find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Sign up today with the bonus code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you do not win your first bet. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Well, I would tell you my ultimate prediction, but we'll save it. We'll save it for a little bit later on. Couple quick notes that I want to point out. Shout out to Eagle Nation here on Twitter. The schedule this year contains 6 1 p.m. games, 5 4:25 p.m. games, and 5 primetime. So last year, I think they only had, 3 1 p.m.? It was really, really odd. But now it's kind of split up more evenly. Of course, they have 5 primetime because the Eagles are expected to still be one of the best rosters, a lot of star talent. Why not put them on mainstream? But it is a little more evened out for all those 1 p.m. type of people out there. Also, Jimmy Kempski notes here on Twitter that the Eagles do not play any opponents coming off their bye week in 2024. I think that's a very interesting note as well. And it is, I guess, quite an advantage, right? To not have to play anybody that's coming off a fresh week. Speaking of the bye week, that's the first thing I noticed about this Eagles schedule. It is pretty criminal, in my opinion, that a week 5 bye is given to the Eagles. I mean, who wants a week 5 bye? It's the first week of October. Like, you have all these games to play after, and especially, you're on the road early in the season, so a week 5 bye is tough, just to be honest. But it's not the end of the world, and when I look at this Eagles schedule, they only have 4 true home games in the first 13 weeks, which is also probably a record. But as John Clark notes, they finished their schedule with 4 of 5 games at home for the first time in 73 years, and they do not have to get on a plane in the final 6 weeks of the season. So, pick or choose, right? Like, all right, you start out on the road. First game's in Brazil. That's going to be a tough matchup against Green Bay, who's coming off a pretty good year with Jordan Love. And I could see that being a coin toss. I could see it going either way in Brazil. It's going to be wild. And then you come home to return for your home opener on primetime against the Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins, who it feels like he's always playing the Birds in Philly in one of the first couple weeks of the season, and he's not good on primetime. So I think that's where the first win will come if they don't get it in Brazil. But either way, I do think they will dominate the Atlanta Falcons. Then you have 2 against New Orleans and Tampa Bay. They could be games where, you win one, lose one, or you could win both easily. There will always be games on the schedule where the Eagles are supposed to win and they drop one, or they have no chance of winning and they're going to win one. And that's why I don't like to go matchup by matchup because, week 7, this guy could be hurt and that guy could be playing, right? And it's hard to know those circumstances at this point. I do like to talk about overall record, and, this schedule does seem pretty fair to me. Like, it seems a lot easier than last year. It's not like they have the gauntlet, as we were calling it, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, teams like that. And at the end of the season, having 4 of the last 5 games at home, and even the week before that against Baltimore, that's not too far away. Washington, not too far away. Not having to get on a plane ride is awesome in the last 6 weeks, and who knows how much those games will matter, but 3 division games in a row to end off the season is definitely interesting. But anyway, they play the Browns out of the bye week, former defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. And I honestly think the Birds should start about 3-2, 4-1. Like, I think 3-2 is probably the lowest. If they start like 1-4, 2-3, I think we are sitting up here at that point, potentially talking about a switch in the head coach, right? Obviously, Sirianni got another opportunity because he just went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. But if you underperform now with this team, now that you have new coaches and you're out there going 1-4 in the first 5 or 2-3, there needs to be serious conversation in order to turn this team around. And I'm just going to put that out there right now. I like Nick Sirianni, but time to show up, this season. After the Browns, you got the Giants, which I think will be a pretty dominant win. Saquon's return to New York. And then I think the toughest stretch of the season is Cincinnati, Jacksonville, and Dallas. Jacksonville, obviously the return of Dougie P to the Linc. And you have Cincinnati on the road, which is always going to be a tough one against Joe Burrow. Cowboys, I'm surprised neither of the Cowboy games this year are at 8-15, but definitely interesting to keep your eyes on there. That will be a tough 3-game stretch, but they should be able to win 1 or 2 at least of those games. Washington, and then you have the LA Rams in LA, and then you come home right after that to play Baltimore, which is a tough, gritty squad. So that could be another mini tough stretch. Washington usually seems to find a way to keep it competitive against the Philadelphia Eagles. But I, again, really favor that final stretch. I think they should be able to win 4 or 5 of the games. Carolina, that should be an easy win. Pittsburgh, Washington, Dallas, and New York. So overall, when I look at this Eagles schedule, the more I let it soak in and the more I absolve, it just feels like this is going to be a dominant season. It really, really does. If I had to put a final record on this, again, there's going to be some games where they slip up when they shouldn't. And there's going to be maybe a win like against the Ravens where they pull it off and they shouldn't at that point. But overall, I am going to say that the Eagles' final record is 12-5. I look at this schedule, couple easy stretches, having all those home games at the end of the season. It just feels like a very winnable type of season where you bounce back and you get on your high horse and you go into the playoffs as potentially the number 1 seed, get a nice bye week, get some rest, and just be able to go out there and dominate. And hopefully they don't have to go on a road at all after those final 5 games or 4 games because they're going to have home field in the whole playoffs. That's the hope. And there's never been a better opportunity to bounce back with all the players you added, with some of the new coordinators and coaches. Now is the time. You cannot underperform. This might be one of the final chances to keep a lot of these players together. And I really do believe that it has to be now or never. You look on paper what this team has done within the division. You look at the Giants, the Cowboys, not really making too many splashes. The Commanders, still a tough organization the past couple years. Like, obviously they have a nice quarterback now, but, he has a lot to prove as well. So I think the Eagles should run away with this division. I think they win it by a game or 2 at least. And I think they go 12-5. And that is my final prediction. But Eagle Nation, I want to know your thoughts down below on the release. What do you think is going to be the toughest matchup of the season? What do you think their ultimate final record is? Give me your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. And as always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.